Hello, my friends, hello, and welcome once again to the startling Vaughn Manor. Yes, it's another thrill-packed episode of the books that time forgot. Roger and myself, we're both ready to dive into two more books. We're going through every book that I own. 2 boxes at a time. Most of my books, they're in boxes, and there are a lot of boxes of my books. So we're going through them 2 at a time, and here are 2 more boxes today. Let's dive into the first box and see what I've got hiding in here. Got to have Robert E. Howard in every box, it seems like. Here is Gates of Empire by Robert E. Howard. These are tales from the Crusades. Gates of Empire and Other Tales of the Crusades. This is a Wild Side Press book, so a small press. But it's actually a pretty well-made book. It's pretty good, actually. We've got Jack of Shadows by Roger Zelazny, a book I have never read. But it's got this really kind of trippy cover. Old Jack of Shadows. I should read this. What else do we have in here? We've got a biography of Edgar Rice Burroughs, Tarzan Forever. This was by John Taliaferro. He did this biography of Edgar Rice Burroughs there. There's the man. So that looks interesting. I don't think I've read that. No, I haven't. I haven't read that. I read another biography that was actually pretty good. Then I've got this big old collection. This is a Penguin volume. The Bronte Sisters, 3 novels. Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. And Agnes Grey by Anne Bronte. I should read this because I want to revisit all of those books once again. And just look at that beautiful cover. This volume has a great cover design. Penguin did a very good job on this deluxe edition. Really nice. Then I have this, Logic and Contemporary Rhetoric, The Use of Reason and Everyday Life. Now this is a textbook, but it's really, really good. It's a really interesting read, and even though it's a textbook, you should read it if you ever stumble across a copy, because, you know, reason in everyday life is something that should happen more often than it does. Looks like I've got another big old book in here. This is another Penguin Classics Deluxe Edition. This is Jane Austen, The Complete Novels. Jane Austen, The Complete Novels. This is a really big book. I should keep this for July, when July happens and everybody's like, read Jane Austen, read Jane Austen. Okay, I got Jane Austen right here. I got another Penguin. A lot of Penguins snuck into this box. This is Alexandre Dumas, The Count of Monte Cristo, one of my very favorite books. If you sat through my 100 favorite books of all time video a couple days ago, you will see that this was on there. This is an actual copy that exists in the real world. It's not like a floaty picture. This is the real thing, man. I should read that book again. That should be a good book. Okay, what do I have? I've got a couple hardcover collections, or excuse me, I got a couple of these boxed sets from Library of America. This is American Fantastic Tales. This is a 2-volume set of American Fantastic Tales. We've got Poe to the Pulps and the 1940s to now in this boxed set. This is an excellent collection of horror stories, fantastic stories. It's got a ton of writers in this, and it's edited by Peter Straub, who knows a thing or two about scary stuff. So that's awesome. I haven't read that yet. My dog's shaking over there. I haven't read that book yet. I keep meaning to, and I keep not doing it. Maybe this is the year. What else do I have? I've got Women Crime Writers. This is an awesome 2-volume set. 8 suspense novels from the 1940s through the 1950s. Really, really nice set. What's in here? We've got Laura by Vera Casparet. The Horizontal Man by Helen Eustace. In a Lonely Place by Dorothy B. Hughes. The Blank Wall by Elizabeth Sankey Holding. The Blunderer by Patricia Highsmith. We've got Mischief by Charlotte Armstrong. Beast in View by Margaret Miller. I didn't know I already had that book. And Fool's Gold by Dolores Hitchens. So this is a pretty good set of awesome books. I got to read that book. So what else do I have in here? I've got this really stupidly sized paperback. You can see that this is a stupidly sized paperback. It's one of those tall paperbacks which are lame and awful and terrible, and I don't know why they exist. This is Jim Butcher's Stormfront, which is the first Dresden File novel. I'm going to get to this like any day now. So yeah, that was that. And then I've got this really nice Neil Gaiman book, The Ocean at the End of the Lane. This is just a little paperback of this book. I should get a really nice copy of this book because I like this book a lot. It's a really good book, Ocean at the End of the Lane. I liked it very much. I usually like Neil Gaiman. Usually like him. Of course, we have to have more Robert E. Howard hiding in here. And what do we have? We've got more Robert E. Howard. This is The Worms of the Earth. These are the Bran McMorn stories. Worms of the Earth was one of the major Bran McMorn stories from Robert E. Howard. And this is the edition that I first read Bran McMorn. I had never even heard of this character until I found this book, which was published by Zebra. They all had these kind of strange but cool covers. All these old Robert E. Howard Zebra books. So I've got that. And I've got this old-timey copy of A Game of Thrones. You might have heard of this book. It's part of this series that's called Song of Ice and Fire. Yeah, that's what it is, Song of Ice and Fire. One day, there is a legend that is told that the writer of this book, George R.R. Martin, will finish this series. Like a lot of myths and legends, it's not true. But we do have this book, and this is like way before the TV show ever happened. It's kind of a cool old copy. This one, though, is from after the TV show happened. This is a Clash of Kings. Obviously, this is a TV show version, or a version that happened after the TV show. So yeah, there are those. And this is as far as I went in the series, because I got to this far in the series, and I'm like, you know, I'll just wait until he finishes the series before I read them. That way I could just read all the way through. So that's never going to happen, so I should just read what exists. I should get back to the series and just read the books that exist now, since they are probably the only books that will ever exist from that series. And now we're going to get to Hornblower. My stepfather was a huge Horatio Hornblower fan. It was Horatio, right? Yeah, it's Horatio Hornblower. I haven't read these books yet. I inherited these from my stepfather, who loved these books. He read these books over and over and over again. So they're not in the best shape. But I got them from him, and I really should read them because he loved these books so much. I should read them just for that alone. He was an awful good guy. So this is the first this is the first in the Hornblower saga, Mr. Midshipman Hornblower by C.S. Forrester. That is followed by Lieutenant Hornblower. Let me know if anyone's read these books. This is the second Hornblower book. I've got the third Hornblower book here. What's left of it. It's missing its back cover, so it looks like it's been in this storm. This is Hornblower and the Hotspur by C.S. Forrester. Then we've got book 4. This is Hornblower and the Atropos. There we go. Looking all cool, Hornblower. And then I've got Beat 2 Quarters. This is the 5th in the series here. Beat 2 Quarters. I think they were written in a different order, though, if I'm remembering right. This is Ship of the Line. Ship of the Line. There we go. Then we got number 7. This is Flying Colors. Flying Colors there. Then we've got Commodore Hornblower. This is the 8th book in the saga, Commodore Hornblower. He's on a horse this time. Then we're going to number 9. He's moving up in the world here. This is Lord Hornblower. He's a lord now. He's Lord Hornblower. He looks very English, that fella. And then we're going to number 10, Admiral Hornblower in the West Indies. Admiral Hornblower. Even as an admiral, he's getting into some trouble there. Look at that guy, Admiral Hornblower. Then we've got Hornblower during the crisis. Hornblower during the crisis. And this is, I'm assuming, old Hornblower there who is reminiscing. So that's pretty cool. I guess he ended up okay. Old Hornblower. And I also have, inherited from my stepfather, the Hornblower Companion by C.S. Forster. The Hornblower Companion, which has all kinds of cool little information about ships, and you've got little maps. What? Terrible monsters in my house. Excuse me. Yeah, it has little details on the different books, so as I read the books, I've got this little companion I could read along with. So that's really cool, actually. Next, look, it's more Robert E. Howard. This is a beat-to-hell copy of Cull, the fabulous Warrior King. He's fabulous. He's the fabulous Warrior King. He does look fabulous there in his little cape, in his underoos, fighting this big snake monster. She doesn't look too happy. And who's that at on the ground there? There's someone on the ground. She's not doing any good at all to the fabulous Cull. He's fabulous. What else do we have in here? We've got another copy of Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. Can't have just one. Then we've got more C.S. Forster. This is The Good Shepherd. This is The Good Shepherd. I don't think Hornblower's on this ship. Not unless he lived like a long, long time. Which I guess he could have. You never know. So that was that. Now this... this book is by a terrible writer. This is the Marquis de Sade. Justin, Philosophy in the Bedroom and Other Writings. This book is terrible. Not because it's about terrible things or because de Sade was a terrible person. I mean, I think he was. He's kind of a sicko. And he tortures everybody who reads this book. I mean, he's way into torture, this guy, and doing horrible things to people. And trust me, if you have to read this book, something horrible is happening. You are being tortured every minute of reading this crappy, crappy, terribly written, awful book. This guy is just the worst, Assad. Look, it's a Library of America. Oh, it's Poe. I've got Edgar Allan Poe. This is Poetry and Tales. It's the Library of America volume of Edgar Allan Poe, because, you know, you've got to have a bunch of different complete collections of Poe, you know, also. But this is a nice one. Actually, this is probably the best one I've got. Oh, look at this. This is exciting. I knew I had this somewhere. I also have this lurking on my Kindle. This is Stephen Donaldson's. This is the Chronicles of Thomas Covenant the Unbeliever. This is the first trilogy, the first 3 books in this series, all in one big omnibus, a big fatty omnibus collection. I should read this and make this one of my mammoths for the year, even though it's not just one book. It is, I mean, not just one novel. It is over 1,000 pages if you read the whole trilogy in one book. So that's kind of cool. Okay, that was the first box. Let's move on to the next box. All right, are you ready, my friend, Roger? Look how ready Roger is. He's always ready for action, that one over there. Okay, another box full of books. All right, here we go. First book, Red Rising. I got this because everybody was talking about it on the BookTube, and then I never read it, and then everybody stopped talking about it, I think. And I still haven't read it, and I don't know that I'm going to read it at all. I might. Let me know. Should I read this book, Red Rising? Because it's like, I don't know. It sounds not so great. But people say it's good, so we'll see. Then we've got The Empire of Isher. I think I've got more than one copy of The Empire of Isher. This is by A.E. van Vogt. Someone please tell me how to pronounce this guy's name, because I have no clue. Vogt? I don't know. He's an excellent writer, though, so I should know how to say his name. The Empire of Isher. I have a lot of his books, actually, because he's one of those writers who's awesome. Then I've got a history here. This is an imperial possession. Britain in the Roman Empire. This is a good one, guys. This is a good one. Then I've got Gautier. This is the works of Gautier. And my French accent isn't so good. This is what this book is. Yeah, it's the works of Théophile Gautier. Has all kinds of stuff in here. It's all double columned, so it's a lot longer than it looks. I have not read this one yet. I've always intended to and have not done it yet. This is the first Witcher novel, Blood of Elves. I read the first two short stories, collections, and they were good. So I always meant to get to this, and I just haven't gotten to it yet, but I'm going to get to it eventually. I didn't put it in my fantasy books to read this year because I had it in this box, packed away for some reason. Here's some more general history stuff, popular history stuff from Michael Grant. This is The Rise of the Greeks, which was decent. It was pretty good. Michael Grant, he writes some good history for the general reader. This is The Classical Greeks, also by Michael Grant, The Classical Greeks. And then, because I have to have Robert E. Howard in every box, here he is again. This is Graveyard Rats and Others. Graveyard Rats by Robert E. Howard. These are kind of his sort of crime stuff, but they're not really crime. They're more like... How would you describe this stuff? It's hard. It's not really hard-boiled detective stuff, but it's sort of that way, but full of, you know, possibly supernatural shenanigans going on. It's good old pulpy stuff. Yeah. And then I've showed this sometime before on this channel, probably a long time ago. This is Famous Fantastic Mysteries. This is a great pulp, Famous Fantastic Mysteries, and this has a bunch of the stories that were reprinted in that pulp magazine, because it was a pulp magazine that reprinted a bunch of earlier stuff. A lot of Famous Fantastic Mysteries came out in the 40s. And just look how cool this is. It's a wonderful anthology. There's great stuff in that one. And then I've got a book I've never read. This is Poodle Springs by Raymond Chandler and finished by Robert B. Parker. I always intended to read Robert B. Parker before I got to this. I didn't want this to be my first Robert B. Parker, but it might be, because I've got it, and, you know, I should read it. So there's that. This is a Gateway Omnibus of Henry Kuttner. Gateway Omnibus, they come out with these cheapo paperback omnibuses of different authors' novels. This has Fury, Mutant, and the Best of Henry Kuttner. I just gotta say, whoever is doing the covers for these, work harder. If I can do a better cover design on my phone in 10 minutes, you should be able to do something better than that. I'm just saying, guys. Good books in there, though. What is this? Oh, this is an old library copy. I think this was from the San Francisco library. It was. The Saga of the Comstock Log. Boom Days in Virginia City. Boom Days over there, guys. This is by George D. Lyman. The Saga of the Comstock Log. Whole saga right here in this old library book. I'm not going to return it to the San Francisco library. And of course, I've got another copy of City. This is one of my favorite copies because it's got the big silly dog on it. And look at those cool robots and dogs. This cover is... I love it. Who wouldn't want this copy? This is the old book club edition. I've actually got a really nice fancy edition of City, but this is not that. This is the book club edition, which I like, just for that cover. This is Juniper by Ross Jeffrey, was it a trilogy? I know at least 2 books were written. by Ross Jeffrey in the Juniper Saga. Yeah, Juniper by Ross Jeffrey. And very eclectic mix as usual. Then we've got Fitzgerald. This is the short stories of F. Scott Fitzgerald. There he is there. So this is a collection of his short stories. It's not complete, of course, because he wrote a mess of short stories, but this is a pretty good selection of his short stories put out by Scribner. That's a nice book. And I've got, this is awesome. This is The Great Pulp Heroes. The Great Pulp Heroes by Don Hutchison. This has a bunch of stuff in it about the Shadow and Doc Savage and the Spider. Yeah, got Doc Savage there. This is a really cool book about the pulp heroes. Who wouldn't want to read that one? And then we've got this book, Whiteout, by a Nick Ventnor adventure by Ashton Macaulay. I got this because Books of Blood said nice things about it, I think. I'm pretty sure John at Books of Blood said nice things about this. Whiteout, obviously, he's going up against, you know, a Sasquatch. So it's probably a lot of fun. I just haven't read it. It's just kind of sitting around. Like this one has been. The Shards of Heaven by Michael Livingston. I think this is a fantasy novel, the first in a series that takes place in ancient Rome. So you think I would have read it by now, but I haven't read it by now. I've read this next one, though. This is a penguin which snuck in here. Those sneaky penguins. This is Anthony Hope's The Prisoner of Zenda and Rupert of Hentzau. And it has a great cover that's from the film version from, who is that? Douglas Fairbanks Jr. That's who this is. This penguin is stupidly out of print. These books by Anthony Hope should never be out of print. Of course, you can get them for free on the Kindle, and I would recommend that you do so, because these are excellent novels, and they're a lot of fun, and you should read them. Here is another old copy of She, because I got to have a bunch of copies of this book. This is an old Penguin Red Classics edition of She. I talked about She on my channel a long time ago. Stranger Than Science. It's Stranger Than Science, guys, by Frank Edwards, author of Flying Saucers. Serious business. There's serious business. Do you believe? Do you believe that a man can vanish into thin air right before the eyes of his family? No, I don't believe that. That a girl can remember in authentic detail a life lived centuries before? No, I don't believe that either. That there has existed on Earth a race of men 14 inches tall? Oh, come on, man. Of course I don't believe that. That the explosion of an atomic spacecraft devastated Siberia in 1908? No, I don't believe that also. That over the past century, thousands of people have sighted unidentified flying objects? Yes. People look up in the sky, see things, they don't know what it is. That's an unidentified flying object. People see them all the time. Finally, a true claim. That over the past... Okay, that before you answer, read this book. Here is proof of uncanny human powers. Weird happenings and astonishing discoveries science cannot explain or deny. Actually, Mr. Edwards, science can deny all this stuff. I think Vinant Revenant Reads must have slipped this into my box. He's really into that stuff. Here we go. Brave New World by Aldous Huxley. Old beat-up paperback copy. Everybody has an old beat-up paperback copy of this book, I think. Then we've got a really nice copy of Dr. Zhivago by Boris Pasternak. This translation is by Richard Pavitt and Larissa Volokonsky. So there we go, Dr. Zhivago, a really nice copy of that. Then I've got a couple paperbacks here. Here's the complete plays of Sophocles. And The Greek Experience. The Greek Experience by C.M. Bora. A lot of different stuff in this box. The Last Argument of Kings. I've got a much nicer version of that right there. But so I don't really need this paperback of this book. It's really a big paperback with a cover that's just kind of there. This is not the greatest cover design that they put on these books. And it's a shame because these are great books. So that's the last in the first Law trilogy. Andy Weir, Project Hail Mary, one of the best books I read in 2021. I really enjoyed this book a lot. This book is a lot of fun, guys. You should read this book. What a way to finish off. This is John Carter of Mars. This is the first 3 Martian books. And this is from the Library of Wonder. Only 2 of these came out in the Library of Wonder. This one and a Jules Verne volume. But this is my favorite edition of Edgar Rice Burroughs' Mars novels, the first 3 of them anyway, because it's got illustrations by Thomas Yeats, and they're actually really good. This is a really cool version of these first 3 stories. The illustrations are really cool, and you have illustrations just all throughout this volume, and they're really, really good ones. See if I could, of course, now that I'm trying to find one, here we go. You see, it accurately depicts everyone as naked. Everybody on Mars is naked, just so you know. That's an added incentive to get you to read the books. Yeah, they're all naked on Mars. No need for clothes. They just wear jewelry and stuff. Hey, went on Mars, right? So that's it. Those are the 2 boxes for today. Be sure to catch me next week when we go through 2 more boxes. And the week after that, we'll go through 2 more boxes. We'll just keep, it'll just go into infinity, you know, these videos. So yeah, thanks for joining me once again. I will catch you next time. I should see you tomorrow, because tomorrow is Wednesday, Epic Comic Book Wednesday. The triumphant return of Steve Donahue, probably. We'll see. Okay, guys, I'll catch you next time.